5 minutes past 2, good afternoon. Now, sitting before us is the comedian, actor, writer, four series of Man Down. I mean, this is Greg Davies is here. Hello, Greg.
Hey.
Hello.
How are you, mate?
Well, I'm all right, thank you. As I just said to you off air, I've just woken up having been asleep in the back of a van.
Coming from where?
From Glasgow.
Oh.
Where you played last night?
I should say as part of my stand-up tour. I wasn't
Bundled
just
into the back of a van.
pushed into a van in Glasgow and brought here.
How have the vans changed over the years? Are you now in something very plush?
It is a nice van. I bought it, actually. I bought a
What?
van. Yeah, because since the 90s, when I used to have a Volkswagen camper, I've always secretly harboured a desire to have another camper van. So I've bought one for my tour. But it's far nicer than the 90s version.
And clearly you're not driving yourself. You've got tour manager and
Of course.
and people that just stoke
I've
your
got-
ego
I've got
for money.
my tour manager, T. Yeah, it's lovely.
It's what happens when you're coming up in the world the way you are.
Yeah, I mean, if you saw the van, it's not that flash. I think it'd be quite sobering to see me.
Is it out there
I don't
somewhere?
quite fit on the bed.
I was going to say, it had to be quite a big van, in fairness.
Is it parked out there?
You're even
It
taller in
was.
person.
It was. T's taking it back to the hotel.
We could have done a tour of Greg Davies' tour bus. I say bus.
I'd love to show it off. It is. It's delightful.
Spotlessly clean.
It's got a little hob and everything. It's
Unlike,
got a mini fridge. When I was a kid, that's what I aspired to, having a mini fridge. Did you?
No.
Still do.
Really?
I didn't.
All I wanted was my own space with a little mini fridge in it.
What did you want in your mini fridge?
You know, some little mini pot pies.
Do you save money on hotels on tour now? You just live in your van?
No, we don't. No, because there's three of us. My support act, Barry's with us as well. Sounds like I'm making it up, doesn't it? Barry and Trevor. I'm on tour with Barry and Trevor. And I don't think it would be conducive to good live performances to have us all in sleeping in a little van. So
For a good TV series, I can imagine. But you're on TV a lot, so I guess you don't need any more of that at the moment. We'll start with talking about something that's quite sad, obviously, is the passing away of Sean Hughes.
I know, I've just found out, and it's so shocking and so sad. I've literally just found out about a quarter of an hour ago, and that is terrible news.
Did you ever tour with him? Did you ever work with him?
No, I didn't. I mean, I've met Sean a few times, and he was a very nice chap. But he's one of those figures in comedy that I've been aware of. From because he started so young. When I've had my long before I had the guts to try comedy, I was aware of Sean. Sean's show was. I used to be in a sketch show called We Are Clang, and Sean's show was undoubtedly an influence on us. Just the chaos of that. It was such a groundbreaking, chaotic, rambling show on Channel 4 that, it's a real shock. It's a real shock, and that's
51
age.
years old.
Yeah, he'll be much missed. Yeah.
And, he changed things quite a lot as well, particularly Edinburgh, because that show that he won for when he won the Perrier so young was a
I
really
don't know how old he
different-
was, but he was crazy.
It was 1990,
Crazy.
so he must have been mid-20s.
Yeah.
And it wasn't your normal sort of stand-up like you would do in a club, as was the thing that everybody did at Edinburgh then. It was it had a real theme to it. He was a, lovelorn Morty fan, wasn't he?
Yeah,
Waiting for a phone
I mean,
call.
I didn't see the show, but I've read about it, obviously.
Yeah. Absolutely brilliant. So
Yeah,
responsible
yeah.
for so much. A very, very, very sad.
It was
indeed.
groundbreaking stuff, and it's very sad indeed.
We'll hear a little bit of it later on of the interview that we did with him, actually, just over a year ago. We'll play that out a little bit later on. But Greg is with us for the next wee while, and we've got so much to talk to you about, not least of all, because we've mentioned your tour, Magnificent Beast,
Yeah.
your Magnificent Beast. So that was last night in Glasgow. When did you wrap up filming season 4, series 4, God, I've become an American, of Man Down?
That is something I try and stick to, series. I don't
Series.
think we need season. Yeah.
we don't.
God, I don't know when we film. In the summer, yeah.
Yeah.
At the end of the summer, we finished. It seems like an age ago now that we finished filming, end of July. Yeah.
How much of a break do you have before going on the road? Because filming Man Down must be exhausting, physically and psychologically.
Well, yeah. I mean, it is. They're quite full on days. They're. But I'm not complaining. It's the filming of it is the nice part of doing a series, because all of the vile work of writing it is out of the way. That's when That's when I'm so miserable. I swear I'm never going to do another series when I'm writing it. But when we get to the filming, you know, all the people on it are my friends now, and a lot of the crew are returning, and it really is a joy to do.
In fairness to you, it's funnier than ever before. So how do you do you know when you're writing it, you're thinking, oh, this is a goodie, this is a good one?
Well, it's still awful to write. I think it gets slightly easier the more you know the characters and the more rounded the characters become with time. That's why we're really lucky that, you know, Channel 4 gave us a go. I think you need to give a series a good go. You know, if you finish a series if you finish a show on series 1, the writers have not had a chance to really get under the character's skin. So, yeah.
So what's happening with Dan?
I mean, it's a mess, isn't it? And that's what I mean is if you know the character, you know if you put him in any situation, he's going to mess it up. So it's just a matter of then thinking of situations that he's going to make a mess of. So obviously giving him a child is a very obvious thing to do. And, you know, this time we took away his home as well. We made him homeless without his support network in the first series. So, you know, the first episode we leave him in a right old mess, preparing for fatherhood. Yeah,
planting seeds in a garden.
Yeah,
with a particularly nice farmer.
It's just nice to just put him in bad situations and watch him mess it up. And like Mike Wozniak's character Brian.
Yeah,
I mean, I could write several series for him because I know that any situation I put him in, he's going to make me howl with laughter. Yeah.
Do you write it and then when you go to film it, are you reminded of how funny it is? There's one story I thought where you were corpsing because of a story about how you were trying to explain to Emma that you'd pooed yourself.
Yeah.
And it was half an hour and the director was getting really annoyed with you.
Do you know what? The director, I mean, I was well into my 40s when we filmed that series, and the director told me off like I was a school child. He pulled me to one side and said, you know, there are people who are trying to get home to their families here. And you're laughing like a baby. Shut up. And then we did it, and I was suitably chastised and felt like a little boy and didn't laugh. And afterwards I found out that he was the worst candidate. He was laughing more than anyone else over a poo joke. It's pathetic, isn't it, Nihal? Pathetic.
It's great. Listen, you know,
some people never lose that though.
Listen,
my father, toilet humour all day long.
100%.
Well, it's a very, very part of the British tradition is toilet humour, and you know, if you come and see me on tour, you won't be disappointed with the way I've continued that tradition. Can I ask, what is this camera on?
Yes.
Yeah. Where's it going?
It's going to North Korea.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't mind.
Channel 4 are trying to sell Man Down
Great.
to North Korea.
I don't mind the North Koreans seeing me after I've been asleep in a van. That's fine.
It's just a really extra dedicated
my hair, no matter how bad hair my hair is, it's not going to be as ridiculous as Kim Jong-un's, is it?
No,
good point.
To be fair, it isn't.
If you're watching Kim, sorry, it's a good look.
How much of an influence was The Young Ones, something that I just absolutely loved when I was a kid?
Well, it was a pretty formative show for me, yeah, because it was the show that me and my friends couldn't believe had been made. You know,
Yes.
when I was a silly teenager, we were talking like that anyway. You know, we were saying silly things, and it was like someone had put our friendship group on telly to me. You know, we used to run in. We couldn't believe it existed. We couldn't believe that there was these insane characters and that they occasionally used a naughty word, you know. It was such a formative show for me. And Rick's performance, obviously. Yeah. You know, it's a strange one with Rick because I have come to look a bit like him as I've got older, and it's just weird.
You do, yeah.
You reminded me of that scene in Man Down, the scene with the woman who worked, Jenny, is it, that works in the building society?
Yeah.
You're trying to look like her more and more.
Well, that's part of that's in episode 1 of this series. Yeah. And that's one of we thought of that idea of me coming into a bank, and every time I go into a bank, I look increasingly like the person behind the counter. We thought of that before we wrote the story. So then you sort of reverse engineer the story.
What, you came up with that first?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't even know it was one of me or one of the writers. I think it was maybe one of the writers just said, wouldn't it be funny if every time he came in, he looked more like the person behind the counter? And then we created the whole story from that point. You reverse engineer it. Yeah.
Who have you not managed to get in? Because one of the... Oh, can I say some of the cameos in this, this first one? The Dennis Taylor... Trevor Nelson axis of entertainment is the bizarrest thing I've seen in a long time.
It's the double act that no one thought would ever happen. You're laughing the way we did. We already had Dennis Taylor who'd agreed to come on and do a cameo.
So you thought, who can I pair him with?
We were literally we were filming and we were literally sitting there saying, would it be funny if Dennis is with somebody else? And somebody, I think it was Al, the director, somebody just went, Trevor Nelson? And we all just laughed our heads off. And then we rang Trevor Nelson and said, yeah. Who'd have thought? No one's ever got Trevor Nelson. And
as a snooker DJ.
The premise is they're going around old people's homes doing snooker and DJ lessons.
And they are called?
Drum and bass.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, my God.
That's also Al Campbell, the director's joke, drum and bass.
And you've got the logo on the side of their van. I mean, so much thought went into this.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, that's the amazing thing about being in a production and having an art department. We thought of that. Al came up with drum and bass the night before we filmed. So they had 24 hours to mock up a van of Trevor Nelson and Dennis Taylor being in business together.
I think the last time we spoke to you, it is so good. The last time we spoke to you, I think, was the last series of Taskmaster, which has won, and it's had an International Emmy Award nomination.
I know, right?
Go on, sir.
And we're filming, so we can't go. Yeah.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah,
But
gutted.
That's
but isn't it exciting?
a huge accolade.
Well, as Alex said when I spoke to him, it's just ridiculous, isn't it? Absolutely ridiculous.
Remind us, those who haven't seen it, because it is great fun. We spoke to Romesh, didn't we, about his appearance on it. Tell us about he's so great with the watermelon thing. He's just brilliant.
He didn't mess around, did he?
Just went in.
Yeah.
So tell us about Taskmasters for those who don't know it.
I don't know
where
how to
the
put
idea
it, really.
came from.
Well, it's very much Alex Horn's baby. Alex, who plays my sort of broken assistant in the show, is really the mastermind behind the show.
Yeah.
And he did it as an Edinburgh show a few years ago where he set lots of comedians different tasks and then got them in a room together with an audience and judged how they'd done these ludicrous tasks. So, yeah, it's just a natural progression from that of Alex developing it into a TV show. And luckily, he felt like he didn't have the authority to be the Taskmaster, so he asked me to. So I'm so lucky. I just come in and judge people for a job. Yeah, it's
Do you
great.
and Ramesh have lots of...
Very much like teaching in a way.
Yeah, well, I was just going to ask you, do
your
you and
former
Ramesh
career.
have teaching anecdotes? Because you were both teachers.
Yeah, but he says he was a teacher, but for how long for?
I don't know, he was a maths teacher.
Yeah, but like
And a supply teacher a lot of the time.
I think he did a year or two, something like that, didn't he?
You did 10.
13?
13 years?
Oh, yeah.
Secondary.
I was a teacher.
What did
Not
you
Ramesh.
teach? What did you teach?
I taught English first, and then when I realised that I could, if I did a drama department, there'd be less marking, I started a drama department, so it was drama.
Did people like you? Did your students like you? Were you quite hard?
Funnily enough, there's a story in my stand-up show that I won't ruin, but I've got a quote from one of my ex-pupils that I use in this show that will make it clear to you that I was not respected as an academic. We had a laugh, sure.
They loved you.
I mean, it's very telling. I'm not sure that in 13 years of teaching there is any one of my pupils still in the entertainment business.
Well, there you go. There's a CV.
Bearing in mind I will have taught thousands.
At what point do you... Yeah, quite, right? At what point do you decide to give up a regular income
Yes.
to go into the world of show business?
When you have an early midlife crisis. That's what happened to me, really. I had an early midlife crisis when I got to 33 and thought, I've always wanted to be a comedian and I'm not going to be one. I really ought to do something. Yeah. Yeah, so I just had a go at it quite very late in life.
Wow.
Extra scary going in later.
Oh, horrendous. Yeah, horrendous.
So you turn up and what the other young comedians are going,
I wasn't that
His
old.
granddad.
I was only 33.
but it is, as you say, to have a complete career change at that point. Did that put added pressure on it for you?
I mean, it would have, but as you can see now, I mean, I've got such a youthful complexion.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, what would you say I was now? Really, 29?
I don't know. I mean,
29.
I'd go with 29.
29.
I would go with that. It's weird that you
A
suggested
lot bigger
that.
than you. Just say 29.
Yeah, 29. I would easily say like that
Oh,
Oil of Ulay regime is working for you, Greg.
No, I started
products
with
available.
Rod Gilbert at the same time as Rod Gilbert, and he's my age. Yeah, we both started late. Yeah.
Looking good, in fairness, for 29. You know,
Thanks.
other 29-year-olds.
Thanks.
maybe.
It's just one of the things that I brought to the party was the youthful complexion,
Can we have a listen?
as North Korea can see now.
Can we have a listen now to the latest series, episode 1 of Man Down, series 4. This is Dan.
It really
Greg's
works.
character.
It really works as an audio, I'm sure.
Yeah, it does.
really
does. Oh, does
We've
it?
really worked. I don't know. I haven't heard it. Let's find out. Dan living at his friend's house, who is angry because Dan thinks that he can move his pregnant girlfriend in.
Found a cot in the spare room. Please don't tell me you were thinking of moving a heavily pregnant woman into my flat.
Just for a little bit.
I can't persuade the girls to visit until you've gone. God, you make me tired all over.
They love their Uncle Dan.
You steal their sweets.
They steal my yogurts.
My yogurts! 3 weeks till she said, and plenty of time to find a place. 3 weeks, and you're gone. No more!
My God. It's all about him, isn't it?
He misses his kids, Dan.
Why? He's had them for ages. Mine's going to be new. And he can talk to them on the phone. And what's the problem with keeping a baby in a flat? You could put it in a shoebox.
Followed by a brilliant montage of you being just a horror in that flat.
That is such a beautifully cut out section to avoid any rudeness.
I know. It's the
Yeah,
only
I
one
know.
we could find.
That is a work of art, that edit.
Someone went through that. They've been going through it for a
Really?
while, I think.
Thank you.
Professional.
Whoever had to edit that, thank you so much for
think
cutting
that's
out
Liz.
my
Probably Liz.
smut.
It's free. I mean, I take it Channel 4 don't give you any rules on taste.
Well, they do actually, yeah. There's compliance. And I'm not sure I should say this. I'm going to say this.
We have compliance here. It's okay.
The one note that I got from compliance this time, I don't think we've had many complaints, but the one note I got from compliance, and I'm not going to contextualise it, is that licking noise is too realistic. Yeah.
Ooh, I feel a bit sick, to be honest with you.
That's what I mean, it's not necessarily. It's not
No,
necessarily.
Rob, we're not moving on from this.
It's not necessarily vulgar.
My
I'm
producer
just saying
said move on.
Let's
no,
move
let's
on.
not move on. Let's
Compliance
carry on.
at the behind you.
That was the
Room
one
full
note
of
from
compliance.
compliance we had.
We've got another clip which has been beautifully edited.
It wasn't crude. It wasn't crude, by the way. Just so you know.
ice cream.
No, it genuinely wasn't crude.
We have another clip of you. This is in your real life. This is Who Do You Think You Are? Earlier this year that went out, where you, just like Danny Dyer, discovered that you have royal blood.
Yeah. Are you saying we're descended from the first Prince of Wales?
Yes.
I knew it. I knew it. I knew I had royal blood.
But this is a long time ago. This is the 12th century. And Owain Gwynedd had a lot of children. I mean, a lot of children. So if you think of the descendants coming back from the 12th century, he did have a lot of descendants. He had, some reports
I'm
say,
sure he did,
19
but-
children.
I'm sure he had an awful lot of children.
Yes.
And I'm sure there are many, many descendants. But all I'm hearing is
Yeah,
that I'm descended from the original Prince of Wales.
yes.
And that's all I'm going to hear, I'll be honest with you.
She did her absolute best to lower your expectations.
She did. I was having
Didn't
none of
work.
it.
She failed.
All I could hear was that I am directly descended from royalty, yeah.
Well, your
and
dad-
they even went on in the show to prove that it wasn't anything special. But as far as I'm concerned, I mean, I'm almost the Prince of Wales.
Well, there was a whole pub full of people who claimed
Yeah,
similar ancestry.
they
wasn't
were
there?
all as descended from Owain as me, but I don't care.
Your dad went to extra lengths to make sure you were Welsh, though, didn't he? I mean,
He did. He drove my mum across the Welsh border 45 miles when there was a hospital 7 miles up the road. When she was in labour, by the way.
in order for you to play rugby.
Yeah, because he wanted a Welsh international. He wanted to make doubly sure, and he got a fat comedian. Poor lad. I'll tell you something that really made me laugh after I filmed Who Do You Think You Are? My dad passed away 3 years ago, but I went to see his best friend who's still alive in Wrexham, and his wife said, one of the first things she said was, "I'm so glad that your dad didn't live to find out he was related to royalty." And I went, "What?" She goes, "He'd have been unbearable, Greg." And it's so true. It's so true. He would have bought a cloak and he would have been walking around North Wales making people kneel before him.
With archers.
But it was said very affectionately, but it really made me laugh,
Was there any
I'm glad he never found out.
Was there any trepidation for you going into it? How much did you know of your own genealogy?
Well, we didn't know anything about that side of the family because my great-grandmother, who I met, there was a mystery surrounding my grandmother, who I was very close to. She didn't know who her dad was. So that's the amazing thing about that programme, is they unearthed who my grandmother's father was. And we found out that he was a very naughty boy and had a family with somebody else. He was a disgrace. He'd got two girls pregnant at the same time, and one of whom was my great-grandmother, and then he abandoned her and ran off to South Wales. So we tracked him to South Wales. Oh, well, if you've seen the show, you'll know. But I met one of his daughters. I mean, it was truly amazing to be part of that show. And the only sad thing about being part of that show was that my dad didn't get to see it, because I can't tell you, he would have been so excited, to find out that he had a living relative from a great-grandfather we didn't know about. Oh, God, it was just a joy, yeah.
Did you learn something about yourself that perhaps was a question that needed answering that you hadn't kind of asked? You kind of go, oh, okay, that's why I do that. That's why I am who I am.
I don't know about that. I would honestly say it's the first time that I've ever considered that things are passed down through bloodlines. I've always firmly been on the side of nurture.
Nurture over nature.
Yeah. And if I'm honest, I still err on nurture over nature. Yeah. But it was very little things like my great-grandfather, who was some very proper preacher. There was an article that said that he was a natural orator and a storyteller, and that fascinated me because obviously this is what I do for a living, but my dad was a wonderful storyteller, and his dad, who I never met sadly, was also apparently a real raconteur. So yeah, it's interesting. It makes you wonder whether the desperate neediness gets passed down from generation to generation.
And then becomes Dan.
Yeah, well, absolutely, yeah.
How much of you is in Dan?
There's a lot of 20 to 30-year-old me in Dan. A lot, yeah. And I think if I hadn't done something with my life, teaching's a wonderful job, but it wasn't for me,
Yeah.
And if I hadn't done comedy, I worry how close I would be to that man now.
It's weird though that Dan was you between in your 20s, and then you realise at the end of your 20s that I need to not be this guy anymore and go into stand-up.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm going to go into accounting and I'm going to have I'm really mature. I'm going to go to one of the most precarious professions I could possibly go into.
It's just about facing your fears a little bit, isn't it? Because Dan doesn't really ever face his fears.
Runs as far away from them.
Yeah, or he just makes the wrong decision every time. So it's very easy when you've been a very silly, childish adult. It's very easy to channel it into an even bigger, sillier, childish adult.
When you decided then, okay, I'm going to leave teaching, perfectly respectable, stable job for life, people might think.
You sound like my dad.
Okay. And then go, I'm going to do stand-up. Did you have a safety net did you have any savings, or did you just go?
No.
Trust fund?
But, no, I was very lucky though. Early on I got a job at Children's BBC writing on a cartoon 2 days a week.
Excellent.
So, it's not like I was an instant success with stand-up. I was earning pennies. But I was very lucky. I got this writing job, sort of 2.5 days, writing on a cartoon called Nellie Nutt that no longer exists. But yeah, that really helped me sort of ease out of teaching. And then my last head teacher was very kind, letting me go part-time. So it was a very gradual process. It wasn't that big a leap off the cliff,
Given that you do a lot of writing, is it the real pain in the backside that that you have to do to be able to do your stand-up, or could you quite easily do one or the other?
Do you?
I mean, do you kind of wish? Oh, I wish I didn't have to write. I wish
Oh
I could
yeah,
just
well
do
certainly with the
stand-up.
sitcom. Certainly with the sitcom, I can't. It's so hard to write. I was telling your colleague on the phone earlier. I am a very placid individual generally, but when I'm writing Man Down, I break things in my own flat on purpose to let the tension out.
Like what?
A guitar. I kick my sock drawer off.
I've done that.
Have you? You've kicked your sock drawer off?
Yeah.
I never thought I'd meet anyone else who'd done that.
The reason I did it, there's
What a weird thing to
sometimes
bond
when you
over.
pull out the drawer,
It
and
gets
the front,
stuck.
yeah, I just let rip into it one day.
And you kicked it off.
The front bit now, the front bit.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, that's what I did.
Yeah.
But I actually pulled the sock drawer out on purpose and then kicked it off because I knew I had to break
Just
something.
trash it.
What makes you so frustrated?
I mean, honestly, it's just making a story fit together. It's not coming up with the ideas or knowing how a character will react. It's meshing a story together, because every time you make a decision, there's a domino effect that goes back over other episodes you've written. It is like a military planning exercise, and my brain isn't wired like
It's
that.
like the family tree of Man Down. It's the who
yeah.
do you think you are of Man Down.
It
You've
is.
got to keep track of all
It
these
is.
people.
But it's like running against, it's not in my nature to be organised. So, yeah, it's like running against your own nature. And as a result, stuff gets broken.
Well, luckily, you don't need to be organised to be a teacher.
No,
Greg.
I mean, says it all, doesn't it? Says it
Hugely
all. I am no
well-respected
loss. I am no loss to
academician.
education.
Can you imagine admitting that at the interview? So why do you want to be a teacher? Well, it's funny you ask that, because I'm not by nature someone who wants to be organised.
You're listening to the wonderful Greg Davies here on 5 Live. He's going to stay with us for a little while, but right now, just gone 2:30.
It's 21 minutes to 3, and you are listening, of course, to Sarah and Nihal, but Greg Davies is here, and he's, of course, the comedian. He's a writer. Man Down, Season 4. There you go, just to wind up you two. Series 4 starts on October the 25th, I believe, on Channel 4.
10 p.m.
Is In-Betweeners ever going to come back?
I don't think so. I mean, you'd have to ask Ian and Damon, the writers, whether they'll do anything related to it again. But I don't.
Would you say yes?
Well, I don't like to put that out there, because I just think it's so unlikely.
Right.
I mean, those boys are actually older than me now. They caught me up, and now they're older than me.
So it would be weird.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure, like, Simon Bird's 53 now, so it'd be weird. Yeah.
How do people react to you generally in public? Do they feel as though that you are going to be aggressive if they come and approach you?
No, they think I'm going to be friendly, and they're surprised when I'm aggressive.
Watch this, lads. What do I do to these people? Oi, Trev, what do I do to these guys?
No, people are always really nice, And the Mr. Gilbert thing, considering sort of, I mean, really, the 3 series and the 2 films were about a month of my life in total. It's just
What a
such an
character.
enduring character that I still daily get someone shout Gilbert at me in the street.
Do you?
Yeah.
Do you have stock answer for people who say the obvious, oh, you're tall, aren't you? Do you still get that?
Yeah, of course.
And what do you have a stock answer for that?
It's more of an attack move. It's
To the throat?
It's a hold.
Because it's not like you didn't know, right?
It is amazing. It is amazing how many people tell me how tall I am on a daily basis. It is remarkable. But that's okay. I understand. I'm a freak.
You're not. What are you, 6'6"?
I'm technically a giant, my friend. 6'8".
Sorry,
When do you technically become a
properly
giant?
open my
At
mouth.
6'7" plus. I'm 1 inch into giant territory.
So
And I know this because someone from, an official from the BBC told me.
when turning down a commission? Unfortunately, we've got giant diversity covered with someone else.
I mean, she was from a similar department, and she was saying, that I am in a unique subsection.
Well, does that run in your family? Is there anybody remotely to as tall as you?
Giganticism.
Or just really, really tall lads?
Well, everyone was sort of tall on both sides. My dad was 6'4", and my granddad on my mum's side was 6'1" or something like that. So I was always going to be ludicrous. I'd be a perfect rugby player. That's the irony.
Do you sometimes think,
Oh, no, I mean, I wish I would have been able... The only time I ever went to a rugby club, my dad drove me there when I was 12 and said, please give it a go for me. And we got into the car park and I started crying and he turned the car around and took me home.
It's not great, is it? So at school...
It's not ideal, is it?
Not ideal for rugby, crying before the game. Unless you're singing the anthem, of course, and you're carried away by it.
haven't
And the
met
Welsh
anyone.
know how to sing an anthem.
They do.
It's better than anyone else.
They do. I've got a beautiful piece of Welsh singing in my stand-up show, but I won't say any more. I'll let you come if you want to come and see it. Half-price tickets for you too. When I'm in Manchester.
You're too kind.
Very nice.
Thank you so much.
Very nice.
Where did the material come from this time round for You Magnificent Beast?
It's quite organic, you know. I got the title You Magnificent Beast before I'd written anything because a student just jumped through my cab window in London because he recognised me and grabbed me by the collars and went, You Magnificent Beast. And I went, well, that's the title then.
So good.
Yeah.
That's a great compliment.
Yeah. Oh, I really liked it. Yeah. So I sort of worked backwards. But the stand-up process it's a different writing process because you don't sit with a blank piece of paper. You have some ideas and you go to a little comedy club and just speak for 10 minutes
And rule
see
things out.
see if there's something funny. So it's a lot more. There's some instant feedback there. And you know if something's funny or not.
How much do you leave for improvising? So you go and you see the front 3 rows and you think, all right,
Well,
let's have a go.
I don't leave. I don't
big rooms
leave
now, right?
anything for, the show is the show. And
Right.
then if I happen to get into a chat with somebody during it, then great. But
You're not worried you'll be thrown off course, or is it because of the amount of rehearsals you've done beforehand?
No,
or
I've done the
getting
shows
used to it?
enough times now to be able to get myself back on track. Yeah.
What size rooms
But I
do you
love
do?
it. I love it. I do.
Ian.
This is your favourite thing, right?
Yeah, it's so exciting. Yeah, every show's different. And I really,
Well, now
for
you've
a
got
man
your own
as
band.
out of shape as me, I really throw myself into it.
Yeah, and also, like Ramesh in Asian Provocateur,
Yeah.
don't mind getting your kit off.
No, because I think attraction is subjective, and what's beautiful and what's not is a subjective thing. Now, I would say that Ramesh is not beautiful, and I am, but that's just my point of view.
How much writing do you do to get it condensed down to what you need for a show, for
the
stand-up?
Oh, loads.
Hours of it.
Yeah, but again, it's not as labour intensive as writing a sitcom. It's sort of a half-baked idea, and you go and just flannel your way through it in a club and then come back and tweak it. So, yeah.
Are you ever going to write another sitcom? Like I said, every
No.
pore of your body is telling me
No, I
that you hate
love it. I love it so much. I love the filming process and the end result. It's always worth it. It's always worth it for me. It's just the sitting in a room going crazy that I find.
Kicking your sock drawer off.
But please believe me, I'm not complaining. I'm so proud of it and I love it. I love it. It's worth. I'm just, was just being honest
Exactly.
about how horrible it is actually writing it.
Mark Hamill, Chris in Letchworth text to say, please ask Greg how on earth Mark Hamill became involved in Man Down.
I will. And it's a really, what was his name? Mark?
Chris in
This is Chris
Letchworth.
in
Chris.
Letchworth. Mark Hamill, you had on your programme.
Oh, yes. Sorry. God, it's difficult, isn't it? Middle age. Well, Chris, this is how we got Mark Hamill on the show. We wrote to his agent and says, do you want to be in our show? And his agent wrote back and went, oh, yeah, all right. That's the worst story of all time. But subsequently, when I met Mark, I found out he was a big Rick Mayall fan and he'd seen the first series of Man Down. And I think that had Rick not been in the show, Mark wouldn't have looked twice at it, is the truth of it. But the fact that he had meant that he liked the association, so he came and did it for us, yeah.
I thought you were going to say he thought you were Rick Mayall, and that's
Aye, well,
what
I've had that, but I've signed for Rick in the past.
You've given us some examples whereby, a title will come somewhere and then you'll work backwards. It was like the Channel 4 school of documentary making used to be that you'd get the title first and then work out what documentary you're going to make
Right, yeah.
off the back of it.
Yeah.
Equally, though, do you sometimes think of a cameo and think, right, how can we make that cameo work? Because, Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
Dennis Taylor and Trev, which I'm still laughing at, Trev.
Yeah, well, absolutely.
The randomness of it.
Yeah. Well, in that scene with, it's been out on TV, so it's no spoiler.
Yeah.
But in that scene, Dennis Taylor just rips my shirt open. And, we decided to get Dennis Taylor on and then thought, what can we do with Dennis? Well, he's such a lovely, avuncular character. Let's get him to do something incredibly violent. So you reverse it back, yeah.
So Man Down is a vehicle for you to just get random people on television.
Well, I mean, that's one of the fringe. It's one of the fringe benefits for sure.
It's a great one. Mark Hamill is a top notch.
We've got Derek Griffiths in this series as well. I mean, it's
Big.
for people of a certain age.
Yeah.
But Derek was sort of dominated my childhood.
Former
Yeah.
children.
I mean, I don't mean he came round to my house and dominated my childhood. I mean,
Yeah.
he was on television all the time singing songs about animals. Is
Heads
my
and Tails.
recollection. Heads and Tails, yeah.
Oh, superb stuff.
But I didn't even know that Derek is a well-trained and much respected
Proper actor.
Yeah, and so, someone suggested him, and I went, "Oh yeah, brilliant!" But then he came on, and he's absolutely amazing. He really is a great actor. He's actually in a touring run of Driving Miss Daisy at the moment. Yeah, he's proper. And I must say, an absolute gentleman.
As indeed are you.
Real delight.
As indeed are you.
Stop it.
No, you are. And thank you for coming in and hanging out with us.
Is it over?
Yeah, we got to go now.
Oh. Well, it's been really lovely.
Well, it's been really lovely having you in
Really
here.
pleasant.
I wish
And
we
I
could
just
have
want to
got
wave
to-
goodbye to Kim Jong-un in the camera.
Don't worry, he knows where you live.
Shouldn't really
so-
be making light of that regime, should
no,
we?
no, not really. But you've got to laugh. To be honest,
You've
They're
got to, haven't you?
such bonkers people. Greg, thank you. On
Thank
tour,
you both for
on
having
tour
me.
currently, so people can go to your website, I believe, which is probably. your name.
Yes, I'm on tour. I don't know whether there's any tickets left.
I
There
doubt there
might be the odd one, but don't forget to watch Man Down, please.
Of course not. It is-
October the 25th.
Just for Dennis and Trevor alone.
It is amazing.
It's actually brilliant.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having
Greg
me.
Davies, great having you on the programme. Still to come,